So to begin with, again, a little bit of mapping, referencing again Buddha's language. Nama-rupa vijnana is name-form consciousness. Words that we get some idea about but probably don't really penetrate. But to add some more to it, dependent arising, avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vijnana, vijnana paccaya namarupa, namarupa paccaya salayatana. Goes on, but end result, suffering. Beginning, avijja, ignorance. A lot of stuff in between. We're saying with this, when there is ignorance present, not seeing or not knowing, lack of realization, not being in touch with, handling it wrongly, attention disorder, how you want to put it. This is not a sort of like a lack of intelligence, just something skewed, something not really right. When that is present, these conditioning forces, sankhara, activations, programs, rise up and start conditioning consciousness. Consciousness, conditioned consciousness. And when that's there, when there is consciousness, conditioned consciousness, there's always something to be conscious of, form. There's some kind of perception, feeling occurs with that. There's some kind of framing up of attention that occurs within the field, with any sense field, visual, some kind of picking out an object. That's called attention. There's some kind of inclination, interest, aversion, shifting. That's called intention, cetana. And there's contact. It's happening to me. And within that, this is nama. With that comes the experience. I'm inside all this. I'm in this. I'm in this visual world. Sights are happening to me, coming into me, sounds, touches, fragrances entering me, thoughts surrounding me, flooding me, sort of throwing me around. The arising of I am within all this. And such a unquestioned basis that from that I am within this, the I am within this attempts to make some kind of reasonable home out of all this. Some abiding place out of all this, some sort of steady, calm, manageable, comfortable, nourishing, whatever, out of all this. And it takes work. And it doesn't really work. It's like ironing the waves of the sea. It's like sweeping the sand on the beach. It's like mopping the floor that you're standing on. There's always the bit that doesn't quite get tidied, right, settled. And there's a lot of activity, busyness going on. I get very busy. So I'm exhausted. And I feel despondent. And I get a great idea. I think, yeah, I'll do it this way. And this goes on. So the Dhamma question is, who's in all this? Who is it? The activities can be courageous, noble, virtuous, or manipulative, corrupt, domineering, feeble. It could be anything. But put that aside for a moment, and who's in this? Don't know. Ignorance, don't know, is in all this. Maybe so we contemplate the misfit, or there's an awareness of this misfit as not being it's socially inconvenient and personally awkward. From a Dhammic point of view, it's a learning place. It can be very frustrating personally, and feeling you're a failure and you can't make it, and think people don't like you, it doesn't work, and wrong place, situation not right, do this, do that, can't get what I want. Yeah, I try so hard, and I've got to keep doing everything, and make everything work, and fine, and I'm really appreciated, and perhaps I'm getting it wrong, but I don't be a control freak. So I don't want to be responsible, but I don't want to be a control freak. I don't want to be domineering, but I don't want to be pathetic either. I don't want to be just a dish rag, blindly following orders. But I don't want to just be some pathetic, pouting rebel all the time. Yeah. If I could learn all the rules, get all the codes, learn all the rules, I would fit. And maybe try very hard to get all the rules in. She doesn't fit. How come she's getting away with it? We don't want that kind here. Yeah, so still, somebody's going to get up my nose, something's going to wrinkle, something's going to agitate and ring up dukkha. We get down to just that realization, I don't fit, or something doesn't fit. And then maybe that just could be rested in. What is that? Awareness? Intelligent, sensing, sensitive? Maybe we lead from there. Or let it lead from there. Feels in tune. Stability, calming, that feels right. Just steadying in that. Gladdening. In that. Opening within that. Relinquishing the agitation, the pressures, the boundaries, the clamour within that. Practice. Feel it. Feel your way. As it said, the dependent ceasing of this mass of suffering. Cease of viraga, relinquishment or dispassion, with no hanging on. Dispassion. Now, we don't really see ignorance, we don't really see passion, we don't think we're necessarily blazing with passion, and we don't really perhaps like or understand the idea of dispassion. It sounds a bit cold and damp to me. But this isn't about seeing things, it's about feeling something. That's where you enter. The citta feels things. It feels the raga, this compulsive, addictive surge, rips through it, throws it out. And it feels dispassion, cooling, allows it to consolidate, settle in itself. And that feels good. There's a happiness there. The happiness of the Buddha, such that cultivated, the rapture and pleasure of that suffuses, saturates the entire body. It becomes a basis for deliverance. Standing on this, it said, one can bring around the destruction of these outflows, these asavas, these compulsive trends. Standing on this. Standing on perception, standing on feeling, standing on formation, standing on form, standing on consciousness. No. Standing on that setup. No. Standing on disengagement, on dispassion, ending suffering. Taking a stand. Always standing on consciousness means we accept the message of that's out there, I'm in here, as the norm, the basis, the actual truth. No, wait a minute, check it out. These are very foundational structural teachings, the structure of experience. Feel it out. Now, this can sound kind of abstract and metaphysical, but then we meditate. And meditate is a very earthy, embodied experience. Walking up and down, the four postures of the body. There's nothing metaphysical about that. Very earthy. Breathing in and out. Nothing abstract about that. The most constantly intimate experience that we have as a constant. Never going to go away until it's all over. So how is this relevant? Because when we you just recognize what you do, if you meditate on body, on breathing, on walking, you use attention. You use intention. And those are factors of nama. So you begin to tweak, change this operation from self-bound. I do this, I feel I want this, I go here, habitual things we attend to, and even habitual ways in which we attend. Attention is a sankhara, it's conditioned. What we attend to, how we attend, are formative of who we experience ourselves or how we feel ourselves as being. Very simply speaking, you can notice yourself. If you have very wide attention, things tend to calm down, spacious, but it can get kind of fuzzy. Narrow attention, things sharpen up, very clear, you can get very tense. Tight, obsessive. You know that thing, pedantic, so busy crossing the T's and dotting the I's you can't read the words anymore. Or just go into spacious where you can't even see the words on the page anymore, it's just a blur. And we may shift, gets uncomfortable, I get very spacious and not my issue. And I get obsessively engrossed in a particular detail. Person's behaviour, this, that, the other. Yes, who's doing this? Intention is doing this. Some kind of directive, seeded, not necessarily wished for, but almost grown in there. Sankharat, conditioned. And when you look at human life, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? We're conditioned to be focused on points and getting it right and adding it up and making conclusions as quickly as possible. We are literate, dealing with symbols and concepts. You look at a word and you rush to the end of it. I scurry along the page, adding it all up. Conclusion, thought, point. You don't just contemplate the beauty of a page, you get in there and are scurrying along, interpreting. Nothing wrong with it, but that's a powerful condition. That conditions your attention and your intentions. Move along, get to the end, find the result. Good. Next thing. Sort it out, interpret it. And you'll get the answer, which is again conceptual. 2 and 2 equals 4. It's conceptual, abstract. And that gives us a feeling of, yep, that's right. What does it feel like? Nothing. The reality is felt. We can certainly wrap some ideas around it and move it around, but primarily the primary experience of contact is felt, touched. Then the signals rise. What are they do about it? So this profoundly affects, and this act of meditative attention, mindfulness, is a training in that. And why we are very traditionally absolutely straight down the centre, mindful of naturally occurring phenomena. Bodies, nature, Dhamma, movement of thought rather than the detail of thought, So even abstractions, we're aware of them as they're arising and passing, that's their nature. We're aware of natural phenomena because they massage our attention. Hold it too tight, doesn't work, you get tense. Don't hold it tight enough, too loose, it flies away like the bird. So when you're with something that's so moving, like breathing or walking, your mindfulness, you have to be mindful of the changing, flowing qualities. And that means your attention is supple, receptive, interested to be with that. In this way it shakes off these hindering qualities. And if that mindfulness is fully followed through and deeply immersed, you don't have to create an identity out of it. It's just walking along. You don't need to be good at it or bad at it, because that's beside the point, that's abstract. You're feeling flows of sensations, energies, wavering of the mind, mindful of that. Doesn't have to break off into a separate person. We're unifying experience rather than being in it or trying to be in some other place. Some other loka to be in. We're in this one, or within this one we're establishing sati. And two qualities of sati, several qualities that sati exhibits. One is it kind of forms a boundary, like all attention does. Attention forms a boundary. This boundary is just against what's not relevant. What's not relevant right now, and even outside. And that may be an ongoing topic. What is relevant now? But breathing in and out, walking up and down. And then within that, you're also receptive. So the outer, it's almost like a ring you place around. Like a ring you place around an experience, the outer edge of it is firm, the inner edge of it receptive, exploring, receiving. And it bears in mind, it sustains. See, that which can, as it said, one is mindful, one can remember things, teachings, assumes said and done long ago. You can retain, sustain, sustaining quality, because it does provide an orientation, whereas the I am is always disoriented. It's always trying to find itself, make things work, set things up around it. Mindfulness in a way gradually replace the I am sense, because there's no drive to make something happen or stop things happening or become anything. There's purity. Disengaging From these programs, these self-programs. Now you're learning, we learn from the body, we learn from breathing, we learn from walking, we learn from these fluid natural systems. And of course, all of us got a very clear idea of what a body is. We see them every day. That's that thing. We probably have a notion of breathing is sort of your nose down to your lungs and out again. There's that. Well, that's an idea. Did you ask the body what it experiences? It doesn't experience that at all. The body in the body experiences things like solidity, pressure, warmth, movements, flows, energies, resonances, shimmerings, all this stuff, elemental properties. So, really getting your attention in touch with the reality of the body. And how do you handle that? How is that handled? We're handling it in a way that allows it to flow completely, harmoniously, and settle down. So we're not pushing it, we're not cramping it, we sort of step back in a way, disengaged, so it can take its own form. Now when you're practicing, you want to be aware also of the boundaries we sense around the body, because this area of our experience, again, it's a fundamental assumption. I am in this, the world around me, I'm in this bag of skin, we're in this psychological predicament, this kind of person, and there's other things around me. Where's the boundary between me and it, between my body and the space? Can you feel it? Can you relax it? Can you breathe through it? How much boundary do you need when you sit still? How much boundary do you need when you walk up and down a path? On your own? Nothing's going to bother you? How much boundary do you need? Perhaps it's a time when those boundaries could be acknowledged and don't need that, because if that stays, that's going to cramp your attention also. It's going to have a conditioning effect. You become the meditator in here, dealing with her or his stuff. And that is not a position that's going to give rise to calm or release. That is the condition we want to be released from. So you'll notice where the boundaries are experienced, be physical, somatic, your energies are slightly held in or ragged. Of course, psychological. And what's needed in terms of calming, soothing, safety, goodwill, spaciousness. Yeah, these are not unusual words, are they? Not technical jargon. And bear in mind that, we're all living apparently within some confined state, particularly in this COVID thing. Stuck in a room, stuck in a house, stuck in a monastery, day in, day out. But the spaciousness which is dependent upon circumstance, but which is always going to be limited, and there's a spaciousness that is intimate, that doesn't have to be confined. And this is a matter of releasing, dispassionately releasing these places, compulsive places. We get very passionate around our boundaries. Right? My time, my space, my territory, my position. And you get very, prickly and intense about all that. Feeling what other people think of me. Judged, excluded. A lot of intensity occurs around that. And And it may very well be the case the one is judged, but you don't. If that's the case, you don't have to live and be conditioned by that. The spaciousness is intimate, possible, unconditioned. And it's through the mindfulness, dispassion, goodwill, this kind of collecting together these qualities, how we attend. We're not goal-oriented, we're not rushing to the end of the sentence, we're not narrow, we're not irresponsible. How we're intending, not going to make something happen, but just to bear with and keep noticing the places where things tighten up or loosen up, but there's walking. You can walk through those places where you feel yourself tightening up. You can breathe through those places where you feel yourself shaky. You can stand firm up within those places where you feel yourself flooded. And this is how we use the body to support the mind, citta, to change the conditioning of the citta, to shift the citta's conditioning to that which is in line with deliverance. And as it said, there is this place of where there's careful placing and sensing, vitakka vichara, placing your attention, sensing what's there. There is the gladdened state, vitisukha. There is disengagement. Standing upon this, one can bring around the destruction of the taints, the asava. So, time for practice. Sustain through the movement of the body, all of it. Keep your attention smoothly sustained. Through the movement of the breathing, your attention smoothly sustained through the arising, pausing, inhalation, exhalation. Let it flow through and keep sensitizing to the feel of that. It's a different kind of attention of receptivity rather than domination. Anyone?